Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a little bit about my last week in games. As always, we'll start with EVE Online, and I played a little bit less than average EVE Online. It was a week of war since I was war decked. They actually came after me for the first time all the way down in Solitude, so that was a little bit of a surprise. They managed to grab my Dominics, and that meant that I was going into an even more careful playstyle. So what I was doing in Solitude was just trying to do more mining, do more sites, try to keep up with the daily missions for the agency, and then they grabbed my Dominics there, which I was using. It was a very cheap feed Dominics, nothing too special, definitely a ship that I was willing to lose, that I was only going to like really use during a war deck. I have far more efficient but more costly ships out there as well. But it was a very good lesson, and that meant that after that I went around in different spaces, so I actually jump cloned around a little bit, and I used the Confessor to do the agency stuff that I wanted to do, so that I could get out more quickly. It takes a little bit longer in the sites, that is definitely true, but it gives you a bit more versatility if you come across some war targets as well. So that was basically one of the big lessons that I learned during this war. Next to that, I kept up with PI, of course. You don't really need to risk anything to keep the PI going, and I actually also went to Jita a couple of times with blueprint copies to try and sell some stuff. So that's still going, and the war hasn't really stopped that. I have a couple of ships, whether it's a stealth bomber, to really try and go the safe route, which again, it takes a little bit longer, but it's pretty damn safe to do that. And during those trips I saw war targets from time to time, so it became pretty obvious to me that they were not going to hit the structures, but that they were mostly interested in having as many war targets available, so that they can deploy forces around the trade hubs and try to catch people out. So it was a good lesson overall. I actually did enjoy that war. A couple of people offered assistance. Thank you very much for that, but I didn't grab the assistance for a very specific reason. I wanted to experience this war and any potential escalation further along from the perspective of a player that is industry focused and that is a little bit alone, to see what kind of options you can take and what are the lessons that I could learn from that perspective. So that's why I was planning to go this war on my own, and yeah, alright, it only lasted a week, but I still learned a couple of lessons for it, and I actually think that this was like the most the most enterprising enemy that we've had so far, because I've never been chased down into Solitude before. So well done on those guys for actually grabbing the Dominics. And other than that, yeah, looking forward to the alpha changes, and then of course now we are going to get started on our new structures. Next up, we have some Heroes of the Storm. I've actually played, I would say again, a little bit more than average this time, rather than fill everything with like a completely new game. I found a bit more time for Heroes of the Storm, a couple of extra games here and there, and so that means that my quest queue is actually empty. That's basically the point up to which that I played, that is to finish a daily quest every day, but also finish all daily quests before that. And so as a result, I played a couple more games, Heroes of the Storm. I really enjoyed Lily again. Whenever I play her, I go for the double dragon build. It takes a little bit of time to ramp up, but I don't think you can like bring her healing potential that much higher right off the bat. The ultimate is really important, and then a healing little dragon is actually very helpful as well. So I would say that Lily is by far my favorite support character. Not really sure if she's my favorite Heroes of the Storm hero in general, but I had an amazing evening with her where I played 2 games. That's all I had to do. I think it was play 2 games with Warcraft hero, and I ended up being MVP in both of those games. And one was with the Cho'Gall, where at first we were really losing because they had lots of PvP potential, but once he got into the groove of things and I managed to stay in the right position compared to the Cho'Gall, we actually turned all of that around. So Heroes of the Storm, in my opinion, the most accessible MOBA that you can find at the moment. Games can last anywhere from just 15 minutes to 30-35 minutes, and sometimes really at it's very rare, but sometimes you have games that last like 40 minutes as well. But I would say that those kinds of slugs are actually pretty fun to do, because you must have some turnaround points during this game. Those games. So overall, Heroes of the Storm definitely still on my radar. Looking forward to doing more. Not really sure which heroes to buy. Do I have 30,000 gold? I could buy 3 of them, but I've found that with my roster I can fill all the quests pretty easily with heroes that I enjoy. So I'm taking my time basically before deciding on other heroes to buy in Heroes of the Storm. Next up, I also played a little bit of Banished. I've actually been playing that on and off for, I would say, almost a couple of months now. I'm building my next Banished town. I really enjoy that game. When I'm hard at work in real life, right, I do have a full-time job, and I come home, I don't always have the energy to get started on lots of big projects, make lots of videos. Then I grab Banished, play for like half an hour to an hour, build up a little bit, and that's what I'm doing. I actually feel like this is a really cool little town that I'm building. It has a very interesting map. With lots of central waterways that I've been building around. I enjoy it. It is my go-to game whenever I need to relax a little bit, whenever I need to turn my brain off for all the other problems that might exist. And the game is absolutely perfect for that. It's mesmerizing how you can just give your orders and then slowly watch your little guys very inefficiently, because they often take a long time to build up the houses that you want them to build, or to build up the facilities that you want them to build. But once it gets going, right, I'm established, a couple hundred people going, then you can feel comfortable. All right, I'm gonna mostly plan the development of this town. What do I want where? And this time it's again the 12 by 13 pattern. I found that the early start of that is almost unbeatable. How nice and how stable and how easy you can grow the town with it. And so that is again the pattern that I'm going for, but this time I'm mixing it in with lots more forestries and food gatherers, fisheries, things like that, so that I don't have this instability when it comes to my food production. That is always something that I dread, right? If you have lots of 12 by 13s, that means you also have lots of farms, because that basically fills the gap most efficiently when it comes to just the raw numbers. But of course, farms don't produce other than one big yield every year, and so that is something that I wanted to avoid with this one. It makes, I think, the town look a little bit more beautiful. You don't have these massive, just straight up chessboard pattern of 12 by 13s, although I'm going to build up a pretty big suburb that way northerly. I'm planning to really surround that with lots of forests that produce food constantly, that produce wood, medicine, all of that good stuff. And as a result, I think it's gonna be a pretty awesome Banished city once I've got it done. And I really like all the little bridges that I've got going at the moment. It's really fun to watch my guys go from one side to the other, sometimes moving stuff for other construction projects and things like that. It's an amazing little game, honestly, and if you've never tried it, then I would highly recommend Banished as a super relaxed game. For the final game that I played this week, I also have a little bit of Stellaris. Mixed picture here. Basically, with the extra time, because I played a little bit less EVE Online with the war, I was thinking of perhaps I should start my new Stellaris game, where I want a machine race that is again a little bit different from the previous playthrough. Those videos are still going, but that's not exterminators, because that does mean that conquering space takes a long time. You have to exterminate everyone on a planet, take them over one by one, and it's a pretty slow process. So I was thinking of doing a machine race that could actually make others, including biological races, their vassals or thralls, right? I'm not exactly sure what those options are in the wars. That was the gameplay that I was looking for, but I thought maybe we'd go a completely different route this time, and I tried a fully science-based race. race this time. So also going for the science perks right off the bat, and it's very interesting because I found myself very quickly to have superior technology to all the other not ascended races, and that is a very strange position to be in, because usually I go for the expansionist or the economic race, and then you tend to lag behind, right? They tend to have better weapon systems, but you need to make up for that with a stronger economy and more numbers. I was in the exact opposite situation, but I think I got basically a bad start for that, because I was surrounded by 6-7 races very nearby, couple of zealots, couple of militaristic guys, and as a result my growth is of course stunted. I have fewer planets than them, and although I've got this incredible research potential, I don't have all of this growth potential, which is eventually of course also going to translate into lower fleets. And that basically ended with one of those guys saying, you know what, we're just gonna attack because we've got a much bigger fleet and we can handle the starports that he's set up, or the shipyards that he set up, and that's basically, I don't really have a way back for that. So I could reload a little bit earlier and try to build up my forces in anticipation, but that again is not the way I prefer to play. I don't really like this balanced playstyle. I prefer to have a focus on something, and growth and economy is apparently something that you can focus on more easily, so that you never end up in that surprise war from someone that wants to take out a competitor. So it does work. I think if you're left alone a little bit more than what I experienced there, I think you could really go for a fully science-based race, including a machine race. I thought it was absolutely amazing how quickly I was gaining research on that. The fact that you're smaller also means that you get more unity, so you get more perks more quickly. That was really nice, but you need a very specific start for that. And so I'm actually, because I want to go this route where I can actually, this time, instead of trying to eradicate all biological life there, I want to take everything over and try to basically create many vassals early on, and thus expand my influence and territory more quickly. I think I basically need another race that's more in line with what I had previously. So we'll see. This Stellaris game basically didn't work out. It's not going to become a playthrough. It was a science-based build, and it's a little bit different. It's definitely something that you can make work, but you need a more balanced approach to everything than basically what I did. So a bit of a failed experiment on my Stellaris game. And finally, I also want to touch a little bit on my future plans, because, well, with another Stellaris series ready to go and another series in Elder Scrolls Online that's ready to go on the channel, all of those have been uploaded and basically scheduled. I have some extra time, I think, especially when I get like a week off from work, and so I'm looking into what I'll go for next. I know that there is a season 12 coming for Diablo 3, so I'm definitely jumping into that. That should be early this month. Not exactly sure when. I think it's like the 9th or the 10th that is starting. So that is something that I'm going to do. I'm not sure which class or anything like that yet, but I definitely want to go for those rewards, and to keep up with the seasons in Diablo 3 is definitely part of the plan. But BlizzCon, of course, and I saw those trailers. I must say I'm hesitating at this point. World of Warcraft, I personally absolutely like the trailer. I like the setting that this is creating for World of Warcraft. Basically, you're out of the crazy space stuff, out of the huge, very overt enemies that both the Horde and the Alliance need to join together, and you're back in the War for Azeroth, where the Alliance and the Horde are up against each other a little bit more, and it's very nostalgic to me. It reminds me of the very first steps in World of Warcraft, when I knew nothing about MMOs and only knew the Warcraft world from the strategy games. It gave me that vibe of, you know what, if there would be any time for me to jump back into the game, this would probably be it. It feels like they've ended the story arc and they're going with a new direction that is definitely very reminiscent of the early World of Warcraft. There's also the announcement that they're gonna have classic servers. So yeah, Blizzard is making it very difficult for me to resist there. And so at this point, no concrete plans yet, but I do mention that it's on my radar now. I'm gonna keep an eye on what they're planning for the expansion, what's coming for World of Warcraft, and who knows, perhaps if Blizzard can convince me, I might jump back into the game. Now, I definitely won't be making that my main game or anything like that, but I do think that having had that experience in Guild Wars 2 as well, where a more accessible MMO where you don't feel like you have to stay in the game all the time in order to be able to enjoy it. If I could get that experience from World of Warcraft, it's maybe something that I'll do. Although of course you have to pay a subscription, and all of those things are currently rattling around in my brain. It's a very difficult decision to make. But it's one that, well, we'll see when we get there. I just wanted to mention that my next plan is definitely the next season for Diablo 3. Don't really know after that, but I do have my eye on World of Warcraft with the latest announced expansion. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you all next time. Alright. Explore the Clockwork City.
Oh, my favorite goop has finally arrived!
Talk to Bar.